even at 4, your daughter is able to differentiate between the anger you express and the truth of who she is. So
Yeah.
good on you, man.
Yeah. No, thanks. I mean, and I love this. I mean, I'm copping to screaming at a 4-year-old, and I'm getting kudos. But
Okay, so let's record the intro now.
So what did Milkless? Because I think we start with the name.
Two dads. We love our kids, but then we also need them to know that we're like pretty cool, and it's not like a wimpy podcast. So, hey,
Hey.
Milkless.
Hey, welcome. Hey.
Hey, Milkless. Call the audience, Milkless. What's up, Milkless? Max coming at you.
What if that's it? That's our first take.
All right, Matt, today we got a When Equals Now episode coming at you live via satellite Thursday, August 8th. It is Thursday, August 8th. Right now, it's coming out right in a minute.
This is our first time we've done an episode that was like, do it and put it out like literally a half hour later.
The same. We usually do it like the day before, a couple days before. So this is fresh.
It's fresh.
So if anything happens on TV or the news, we'll be able to talk about it.
Yeah.
But more currently, I screened my kids 3 times in the last 2 days. So
Woof. Sorry, man.
I'd like to unpack that a little bit because you know we're the hosts of this podcast and we're supposed to have all the answers. Not really, but it's we definitely don't want to ever come off as astroturfing, and I don't think we do. We get a lot of comments on Instagram and TikTok of people saying like how real we are. So we're gonna keep it real. I'm gonna keep it real.
How much you guys suck at this. It makes me feel more qualified myself.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Listen to you guys to make myself feel better.
So what's been going on? Because I remember we were talking about an episode not too long ago. You had like a 6-month no screaming chip.
Yeah.
And then you fell off the wagon. Now you're binging.
And it was really rough. It hadn't done it in so long. I just thought it was behind me, but I guess it'll catch up to you. So I was a little tired. Yeah, a little tired for the weekend. My son's birthday. You know, trying to do dinner time. I forget what it was, but it was one of those things where you're just kind of getting a little, like it's getting later. They're not seeing eye to eye. I'm like, well, we're going to go watch Olympics. Like, but we got to finish our dinner. One of the kids gets up. I'm like, what are you doing? They're like, I'm getting water. I'm like, okay, well, that water's okay. Sorry. Like, they're coming back. And the kids are just literally juggling at the table. Like, there's no, we have 3 kids, 2 adults. There's no more than 3 people at the table at any given time. Yeah. Where are you going, dude? I'm pooping. I got to go poop. It's like, okay. Fine. So then I'm getting a little testy, and then we forget about the like sheepdogging. We're eating. 20 minutes later, I think I'm still got the cortisol levels up. And then now there's 2 kids up because they wanted a different fork. And then the birthday boy.
So relatable. The fucking but the wrong fork. It's like, why are you such a fucking weirdo?
Yeah, but they're like, I'm like, okay, fine. They're not asking me to get it. They're being independent. This is stuff that I'd want them to do. And then the birthday boy comes and like hugs me from behind. And something about like, it was like a 2% ticklish on my stomach, put his arms around me from behind and kind of like grabbed me. And I just like snapped at him. And I was just like, will you sit down? On his birthday.
Oh.
And he goes and sits at the table and puts his head down, and now he's all sad. Like, not actually crying, but tearless crying.
Yeah.
And just very sad. And I had to apologize. And
the invasion of the personal space is that's like especially by surprise. I think a couple of days ago, I told my daughter, and I wasn't yelling, but I was just like, I need you to get out of my face. Get out of my face. And like, that's not a nice thing to say to someone, but it was on a very basic level. It was like, what is making me mad right now is how close you are to my face. I
know. And I feel that sometimes when they like to use me as a couch when I'm on the couch. I will oftentimes have 3 kids on top of my body, and I run hot. And you know, if I'm in a good space, I'll make a joke like, "Oh, we're getting a little hot." I'm like, "Dad's like the heat of 1,000 suns. Let's get some space." But then if it keeps happening, or if I'm tired and in a bad mood, like then it comes out like that, like what you said, or something like, "Will you get off of me?
Yeah.
Will you get off?"
Yeah.
And I hate that echo in your ears.
Yeah, that sucks.
Because then I don't usually apologize on that one. It's almost like the rupture and repair, the big one, is easier to come back from because you then have a repair after. I apologize to the birthday boy. I cleared out. I'm like, look, Dad was getting frustrated. It still doesn't make it okay, but I want you to know that it had nothing to do with you. Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So that was good. But,
yeah. Let me ask you this. How much of it do you think is a little bit of like dog days of summer? I feel like we've got like my two daughters are having a fair amount of conflict now. It's like we haven't had like big explosions, but there's just a lot of like things that just smack of too much time spent around the same group of people, you know?
I think it's a lot of that. It's also like the routine is different. Like they've been in different camps. They're doing mountain bike camp this week at Woodward. Like last week, our oldest was at sleepaway camp, which for a week, which kind of messed up the dynamic of the house. The week before that, there was something. It's like each week is almost different. So we're not in a nice routine. Also, in the summer, it doesn't get light till fucking 2 a.m. Yeah. And it doesn't get dark till 2. It doesn't get dark till late. So like the amount of times where they're playing outside and they don't want to go to bed, and then it's like 8:30, and I'm like, guys, you got to come in, which is kind of like what childhood is all about. So I'm like, I'm struggling between these two things of like nostalgia for my childhood, playing till it got dark till 9:30 and being called in. But I was obviously older. I was probably 12 or 13. Yeah. They're younger. They want to keep playing outside. Then it's like, okay, maybe I let them stay outside, but then they come in late. They're assed out, and they're fucking total turds the next morning.
They're monsters when they're assed out. Yeah, they're little monsters. I had last night same deal. Stayed up. I was building Magna-Tiles with my oldest, and usually I try to go back to the room by 8, but we built them until like 8:30. And then we went back, and I just read a little bit. But I had to work last night. I ended up working until like 2 a.m. I had a ton to do, and I knew I had a ton to do, and I couldn't get it started until the kids were down. And I had to do the dishes before I could even get started. And so I got her back there, and then I go in, and she's like, I'm hoping she's gonna be asleep, and she's got the window open, and she's like, there's a flashing orange light at the neighbor's house across the street, but it has changed to flashing yellow. What does it mean? And I was just like, what is happening? What is happening? You need to go to sleep. I did my 30-minute check was at 9:45 p.m. She was awake, lights on, listen to her Tony box. It's fucking 9:45. And I was thinking about this earlier where you said the big explosion can almost be, it's like, okay, we need to have an apology. We need to repair this. You kind of working something out that probably there needed to be some collision to move past something. The little one can be harder to feel like you have resolution about.
Well, also because sometimes the kids haven't totally developed their empathetic radar. So they can't really tell that, because I'm just trying to stay calm, serenity now, insanity later, just trying to be chill. And they sometimes don't pick up on it, and that's what's hard. And then I feel like you're almost in it alone. Yeah, it's tough because sometimes your kids are in some ways your kids are so attuned to what you're doing, and they never miss a thing, and they pick up on your stress or whatever else. But there are other times where it's their obliviousness is just shocking. Yeah. And they will say something that's so rude, or they will say something that is so... My wife and I frequently, after a conflict with one of our kids, will look at each other and just be like, read the fucking room, kid. How did you not know that was the exact wrong thing to say at that moment? But they really just don't. They just don't understand all those social cues, and a lot of times they are totally following a thread that is completely internal to them and totally oblivious to what's happening in the world around them. Well, I think I've said this maybe one time before on a previous episode, but something that my mom, she doesn't have a lot of hacks or life pro tips or parenting things, but one thing that she said that she used to do with us to get us out of the house was she would explain her situation. Yeah. And the one time she started saying that and I don't know if this is correct, and you don't want to put too much pressure on your kid, but it worked on us. And I used it a couple weeks ago, and it worked, of just being hey, if we don't put our shoes on, then Daddy's going to be late for his call. And she's like, who gives a fuck? And she didn't say that, but with her body language, it didn't work. And I was like, okay, so there's going to be 3 people on a phone call and they're going to say, where's Max? Yeah. Where is Max? I don't know where Max is. And then someone might say, oh, maybe he's with his, child helping them put their shoes on because they're having a tough morning. Okay, well, I guess we'll just sit here and wait for Max. And I was like, can you please help me? Because I don't want to be late to that meeting. Yeah. Immediately. Boom.
Boom.
And I like that better than like, I remember one time when one of our kids was like 1.5 or 2, they hit me in the face, and I pretended to start like crying and like was really hurt. And I don't know. I think that's maybe.
It reminds me of, did you ever watch Arrested Development?
Yeah.
Their dad would always hire an actor who was missing an arm, and then he'd put a prosthetic arm on the guy, and then whatever behavior the kids were doing that he didn't want, it would result in the guy losing his arm and bleeding everywhere. And that's why you don't run with scissors.
Yeah. I don't think we got to check with the child psychologist that we don't have on the program.
I don't think we got to check. I think we know that one's not great.
Okay. This episode is brought to you by us, Matt and Max, Milkless. We're self-funded, okay? So we spend hours a week making this for you. And if you like it, listen, we're not asking for money. We don't want you to put money in our Patreon or anything like that. But we are asking you right now, just tell a friend. Tell a friend about Milkless, because growth of the platform ensures that we're going to be able to keep doing it. So if you can pause this right now, text a buddy right now, hey, there's this awesome podcast, or, but be honest about it. Like, I love the guy Max, he's so funny. But Matt, he's kind of like pretzels and Chex Mix, just like filler,
Yeah, they're just there. Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, what the fuck was I saying? Anyway, pause this and text a friend about the podcast. It means so much to us. Thanks so much.
When should they do it, Max? When do they do it? They
now.
Do it right
when
now?
Equals now. Right
when
now.
Equals now. Okay, fantastic. You fucking chill.
But I like the one explaining the dynamic because I think oftentimes we assume that our kids are going to understand what's going on. But the thing that you said on like a very early episode that I use now all the time is just sometimes call out the dynamic. Just like explain what's happening.
Yeah.
And by explaining like, look, I'm going to be late for this call. And then what that means. Yeah. Because I've been telling a 4-year-old, Dad's going to be late for his call. It's like, what does that even mean?
What does that mean? Yeah. Yeah. It's never really mattered that she was late to anything in her whole life. Like, she's like, what is that? Yeah. Yeah. That's
good. The thought of like the people standing around was like, oh, wow, that simply will not stand.
Yeah.
The other screams that happened yesterday, I want to run by you because I think there's something that you might have some good insight on. So we're in the car. I have all 3 kids. My wife's gone for the night. And, I could feel the pot was boiling a little bit. They're getting a little testy in the back seat. There's a pack of like gum in like a little canister. And the youngest like grabs it out of the hand and it like explodes like fireworks all over the back seat. I pull to the side of the road. I checked behind me. It was safe. And I was like, I'm going to do like a fast stop and like scare them. I definitely would have been pulled over and possibly arrested if a cop saw how fast I pulled over. And I had an excuse in my head. I was going to say that I thought someone was injured in the back seat, which if there was a recording, you might have thought that was true. Because it was pandemonium. It was screaming. So anyway, so I pull over really fast. I hit a bump. The car kind of like jerks a little bit. I thought I possibly broke my suspension, but I turn around, 4-year-old's crying, and then the older kids are pissed because she exploded the gum. And I'm like, we can't do that. But I hadn't yet really screamed. Maybe I said, what is going on? And I turn around, she's crying. They're like pissed at her, blah, blah, blah. But that was the first one. I'm like, okay, let's clean it up. Sorry for yelling. That wasn't the bad one. Then 30 seconds later, I'm like in the car. I'm thinking, okay, you are fucking hot right now, boy. Yeah. You gotta, okay. Yeah. You're hot. Let's just be chill. Turn on the music. And then something happened where I think she like hit one of the boys. Oh no, she ripped the sunglasses off their face. And we had just talked about you can't grab the gum. I need to ask, yes. Rips the sunglasses off of the face. brand new sunglasses they got from Mountain Bike Camp. And then I'm like, you need to give those back. She throws them back at him. I'm on the highway now. So intensity is high.
Yeah.
And this is where it gets into a bit of control, which is slightly embarrassing. But I said, do you understand me? You cannot be grabbing that. Do you understand me? Silence. And I started escalating. Do you understand me?
Yeah. Then you're in the power struggle. Yeah.
Yes or no?
Yeah.
And then I kind of like went too far. Do you understand me? Yes or no? Answer me. Answer me. Hello? And then I fucking screamed. I'll break the mic if I do it, but just as loud as you can scream. Yeah. Do you understand me?
Yeah.
Yes. Crying, hysterically crying. And then 10 seconds later, you need to say sorry.
Oh, she said that to you?
Yeah. And then
That's
I was
good.
like,
That's good that she has that instinct.
And of course, I'm like, yeah, sorry. No, I shouldn't have yelled. But, you can't be grabbing that and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So, and then just the only feather in my cap that made me feel a little good, even though I was still like very hot, is I just like stopped talking for the rest of the ride and just turned up the music a little bit. But within 20 seconds, they were back to like having fun.
Yeah.
And my only saving grace is that my kids, I think, know that if I lose it, they don't need to like stay like terrified of me that like I'm going to like lose it the rest of the night and like do something crazy at home.
Yeah.
They were all laughing. And after I said sorry, boom, they're good. I was still irate, but I was like, let's just let it chill.
Just let it. Yeah.
And so, I mean, the thing that I'd love to unpack is that one was really about control. And really what I probably should have done was just let it go. She doesn't answer me and just find a way out. I mean, I couldn't say I had to go poop, like my, the poop, the panic poop.
The panic poop. Yeah, because you're driving.
From the last episode. Yeah.
I do think, it's like, and this happens to all of us. You got sucked into the power struggle right there, where it's like, I need her to say this.
Yeah.
And I think the other thing that you're actually better at than I am most of the time is it's like, this behavior happened right now. We're going to have the conversation about why it wasn't okay right now. So it's like, and when the volumes turned up to 11, like, it's possible that she wasn't even responding to you necessarily, that her lack of response wasn't about defiance. It might have just been about being overwhelmed and like just being out of her fucking gourd.
No, it was like, that's her way of like the other day before the call of not putting on the shoes, it was the same thing. I'm like, okay, just no answer. I'm just going to go. I'm just not going to respond to you.
So that is her, like, that's like passive resistance, basically.
Yeah.
It sounds like your youngest is the most like my oldest of any of your kids. It sounds like on your third child, you finally.
No, our first was that way.
Really,
our first was okay. Even more or the same. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Just ready to, stand the ground. Yeah. I mean, but even if that is an act of defiance in that moment for her, still, that's like a knee jerk thing for her.
It wasn't like premeditated. It was just.
And she's just hot. So she's going to just like be uncooperative, It's like when I was in that argument with my daughter, and I was like, why are you disagreeing with me about every single thing? She's like, because I need you to know how mad I am. It's like, I am mad, so this is what you're going to get. So, yeah, it's like probably with a totally cool head, if you'd say, like, do you understand me? And she just doesn't respond. If you could be like, okay, I can see you're not in a place to have this conversation right now, but this is a conversation we're going to have later. That's not going to be that fun.
It's just could not even see that.
Yeah, man, that's so easy for me to say, sitting here calmly in my quiet office.
But now maybe next time, it's like you're almost like blacked out. Like you're like
totally blacked out.
20 beers deep. You have no fucking idea what's going on.
Yeah.
You are relying on muscle memory.
Yeah.
So I need to put that into muscle memory where we both dug our heels in. She's not going to answer me. And I'm going to keep asking till I get compliance. Yeah. Now, if I was at home and I want to have that fight, I might have just like been like, yeah, then we're going to sit here till you answer me. And I don't know if that's correct either, but I would have preferred that because I wouldn't have screamed. I just would have waited it out.
Yeah. Well, and it's like, yeah, because you're playing, if we're going to sit here until you answer me, is playing at that control thing. Like, here's the thing that you're going to do. But there's another way that's like, hey, what just happened that's not okay. That can't be happening. That's not a way you can treat your brothers. So we're going to sit here until you're ready to have a conversation about it. Like, I'm not going to tell you what to say.
True.
But you're not just going to, like, do that and then nothing's going to happen.
Right.
But
I like that.
I do want to say one thing, which is you flew off the handle at your daughter, who is 4.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the big, big, big fear is that, like, the fear that I always think about, my wife and I always talk about it, is like you have so much power as a parent to make a kid feel like who they are is not okay, right? Like they look to us for so much of their reality. We have such a big role to play in forming their reality, right? And so the scary thing is that when you yell at your kids, they think I am bad, right?
Yeah.
You yelled at your 4-year-old. 4 is a young kid. You flew off the handle. You were wrong. And the first words out of her mouth were, you need to apologize. So you have done something with that kid that when you yell at her, the first place she goes is not, Daddy yelled at me because I am bad. The first place she goes is, Daddy fucked up. And he needs to make that right. So the yelling sucks. You wish you'd handle it better. You've had a rough couple of days. But, like, there is some baseline there that you have established where your feelings and what you are expressing are not just the truth to them, which makes parenting a lot harder a lot of the time. But it also means that you, even at 4, your daughter is able to differentiate between the anger you express and the truth of who she is. So,
yeah,
good on you, man.
No, thanks. I mean, like, and I love this. I mean, I'm copping to screaming at a 4-year-old, and I'm getting kudos. But but seriously, so afterward, we got home. I stopped the car. I'm like, hey, everybody, stay in the car. I turned around and I was like, guys, I'm so sorry. Listen, this has nothing to do with you guys. Daddy was really tired from this morning. Doesn't make it okay, but I want to explain. I got overwhelmed. I don't have mommy with me. I got all 3 of you guys. There's no reason I should have ever yelled like that, but it just happened. And sometimes that happens. And I'm so sorry if I scared anybody. We all okay? And then afterward, I said it again at dinner. We had the same conversation. And then I had one-on-ones with the 2 older guys, just because I think this is kind of cool. I was like, hey, what did you feel when I screamed in the car?
Oh, great fucking question, man. Good
I'm like,
question.
did you feel like, were you like scared? Were you like, yeah, go dad? Were you like sad? Were you? And he's like, not really much. Just, I see why you did it. Because they were getting frustrated.
Yeah.
And I'm like, but even though that still doesn't make it okay, right? And I use it as an opportunity to kind of say, it's just like when we get frustrated with Legos or something. It's totally normal to get mad and sometimes lose it, but still doesn't make it okay. And so it wasn't okay what I did.
Yeah.
And so we talked about it like 3 or 4 times that day.
That repetition is big for kids. Like just it sometimes it can be like, we're talking about this again, but I think it's important for them.
Right. And also just like, and I talked about it again at bedtime. I'm like, listen, like, it's so weird. Oh no, I said it at dinner. I said the line from the podcast of like, isn't it so weird, guys, that like I love you guys so much more than anything, and yet I still screamed at you guys? Like, isn't that crazy? And they're like, oh my God, that's so weird. I'm like, I love you guys so much. But I don't know. I'm just a person, and I got overwhelmed, but I'm sorry, and I'll try not to do it again.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's why in a weird way, it's like when we did the anger episode, where we kind of landed on it is like, anger can't be the plan. But if it happens, it's a fucking money opportunity.
Yeah, it's an opportunity. Yeah.
To like, this is modeling how to whatever. And then I can take some learnings for next time,
Yeah.
try to not, I like your thing of like, who cares what they fucking say? Answer me. Do you understand? Say yes.
Say the word yes. What's the line from oh God, I can't remember what movie it is. I think it's Samuel L. Jackson who's like, I will shove my arm up your ass and move your teeth from the back.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just so aggressive.
As opposed to like, we're going to need to have a conversation about this. I like that better.
Yeah. I think about that a lot in those moments. There was an episode we did a long time ago where you were talking about you were in the car and you lost one of your kids, and then you were like, and then I almost had this like split personality experience where like I was the guy pulling myself off of the other guy who was beating the shit out of, where I was like, enough.
Yeah.
And like, stop hitting him. And you just kind of were pulling yourself who was yelling at your kids. There was another part of you that pulled yourself off of them. It was like, that's enough. And in those moments that you feel so shitty about where you yelled, like both things are true at the same time. Like you yelled at your kids, and also you were the guy who has instilled your kids with such a sense of self that their first instinct was to tell you they need to say you're sorry. You were the guy who was yelling at your kids. You are also the guy who pulled yourself off.
Yeah.
So
Sorry, go ahead. Keep going.
And I think just like allowing, even in those moments when you fuck up, it's like, I was the guy that yelled at my kids that I love so much. Holy shit. I was the guy that was demanding that they say yes. I was also the guy that turned the music up and stopped talking so it didn't get any worse. And I was also the guy who apologized when we got home. And I was also the guy who asked how it made all the kids feel. Like, you're all those guys.
Right. Well, thanks. And here's the other thought. This is one of the first times I don't think I felt an ounce of shame or guilt. Maybe regret. Oh, I wish I hadn't done that.
Sure. Yeah.
Let's fix that for the next one. But usually, I don't know, maybe it's because of talking with you about all this sort of stuff. Like, I didn't really feel bad ever. Because I was like, like that fucking happened. I'm trying my fucking best.
Yeah.
I try. I'm on a fucking podcast with you about, we talk about our anger all the time.
Yeah.
I'm doing my damn best. And I didn't actually, I didn't like apologize out of shame. I wasn't like, I'm so sorry, guys. Daddy's so bad, blah, blah, blah. I was like, no, listen, that happened. I am so sorry. That should not have happened, but it did. And blah, blah, blah. And I went to bed, clear conscience. My wife came home and I was like, hey, screamed at the kids. She's like, oh, I'm sorry. Like, I was going to text you, like, you got all three. You woke up early.
How you doing? Yeah.
But she's like, man, too bad. Like, sorry. Like, I didn't even think about it at bedtime. Like,
well, the other thing that it points to is like, we talk so much and it's become so popular to talk about, but it's become popular because it's true. It's cliche because it's true. Like how big the idea of apology and repair is for kids. Mm-hmm. It's not just for them. Like it's for you too. It brings it when you make a mistake. If that just is an open thread, then you do carry it with you. But like delivering that apology in a way you feel really good about, and also checking in with the kids to see like, how did this impact you? And hearing that like, no, they were okay. Like all that helps you close the loop on that. And it's actually, I was thinking about this. So this is going to be sloppy podcasting here because I had an idea and I didn't finish it like 15 minutes ago. This is, if we were editing this episode, this would just flow seamlessly out of a thread that we were talking about a long time ago.
Matt does behind the scenes.
Just making us seem.
Max, edit the When Equals Now episodes, AKA I put the cold open and the intro on it. Matt spends 6 to 12 hours making us sound smart on the other ones.
But so anyways, to pick up this thread, because I haven't had the big explosions recently, but I've had a lot of just the squabbles, just a lot of squabbles. And you were making the point that it can be easier to repair and kind of close the loop on a big conflict than a squabble. Last night, my daughter just wouldn't fucking go to sleep. And at the end of the night, I was just fed up. And the dumb thing I said was like, you need to go to bed in your bed like a big girl. And she immediately got this look on her face and she's like, I am a big girl. And I was like, God, don't fucking use that. That's the shittiest. And that's just another way of saying like, quit being such a baby. Is like, it was dumb. But I didn't like yell it at her. It wasn't like a huge explosion. Something flew out of my mouth that I was just like, it was a little shitty. And I left the room and I was like, I'm done doing checks. I got to go to work. You just got to go to sleep. And I was about to go out to my office, and then I just like had this moment. I cooled down just enough that I was like, there's no reason to not, even though there wasn't a big fight, there's no reason to not just go back in there and say, I'm sorry, that was a dumb thing I said. Let's not end the night that way. And what it ended up leading to is like a 3-minute conversation in which my daughter said, I just don't know what to do to get myself to sleep. And I said, I don't either. And I think that's why I get so frustrated, is I don't know how to help you. And it was a minor apology that led to a good conversation that led to both of us like going to bed feeling good. And so it's like, even with those squabbles, there's still an opportunity to just have a little like, sorry, that sucked.
Yeah.
And it like, that can only lead to good things.
Yeah. I mean, well, I feel like we could just keep going forever, because you just made me think of something. One of our kids didn't want to go to camp, and I invoked the, you got to man up. Like, you gotta just suck it up.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And he did. And it was the best day of his life. And I'm like, hey, are you glad you went? He's like, yeah, it was like, fucking blew my cock off. He didn't say that, obviously. But anyway, and then another thing you made me think of, what time is your daughter's bedtime, and what time's she waking up?
Yeah, because you're about to give me the hours. I know you are. My daughter's bedtime, she's supposed to be in her room by 8, doing checks by like 8:15, and the idea is that she is asleep by 9.
Okay.
And she
what
is
time she
mostly waking up at, I would say, between 6:30 and 7.
Okay. So that's 10 hours.
Yeah.
9.5 to 10 hours. And 9 is for 6 to 12.
Yeah, she is 6 to 12.
So again, just to go through the things, from 3 to 5-year-olds, 10 to 13 hours, 6 to 12-year-olds, 9 to 12 hours. I just checked this morning because we're having a hell of a thing with the light at summer.
Yeah, the fucking light.
And it's like, especially, those kids who don't need a ton of sleep, that like aren't really waking up like super assed out.
Yeah.
And then I realized like, oh my God, we stayed up so late. It's like that kid where we stayed up so late still got 9 hours. 8 years old. It's like, no wonder he's fine. So
yeah, and it's like a superpower when you get older to need less sleep. It's just the feeling like you need to be done, and the worry that she's not getting enough sleep, and that I don't know. It's just like, and it's hard to know if they're getting enough sleep. And everybody's telling us how important sleep is all the time. You're gonna be fucking dead if you don't. And I'm like in there being like, why won't you just let yourself fall asleep? And then I put her to bed and I worked till 2 a.m. and then I was too wound up to go to sleep. So I watched 2 episodes of a TV show and played a computer game and showed as many screens in my face as I possibly could. And then finally, when my eyes were closing and my head was dropping, I closed my computer and went to bed because the internet went out of my house. So I'm the biggest fucking hypocrite in the world. And it's so obvious where she gets it from. And maybe someday I'll answer why I can't let myself just go to bed, and then I can tell her.
Yeah. Well, maybe just a book. Where's Waldo? Just reading, and then just.
That's what works for me. Yeah.
Yeah. And then you can do this till you fall asleep. It's better than a screen.
Yeah. Yeah. She's doing the Tony boxes now, the stories, but I think they keep her awake too. Yeah. But everything keeps her awake. But she's still getting 9 hours, and she's always been on the low end of what she needs. And hey, what a nice thing. You can get more done in your life. So maybe I should stop bragging on it so much.
Brought to you by Violet Archer.